Valorant gamers, rejoice. No longer will you be one pumped with a Bucky from 15 meters away like you're playing Fortnite. Riot Games just dropped a massive new patch, nerfing the Bucky and giving some serious buffs to both Yoru and Viper. Here's everything you need to know about it. Alright guys, you know that we've been bringing you a ton of Valorant content lately. And if you guys want to see that keep happening, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to scroll down. I need you to absolutely annihilate that subscribe button and like the video. Alright, so if you're anything like me and you spend way too much time after work right now banging out games of ranked Valorant, you know one thing for certain. The Bucky was too good. This thing is like shotgun meets sniper rifle. The range on the right click is just so long. It's broken in half, as 10 seems to be showing us like every other day for the last 2 months.
One enemy remaining.
Last time then. Please ace this 10s, please. This is free YouTube content.
CT.
Yeah.
Last player standing.
Where's the bomb? He's at 130.
I think everybody who plays Valorant has had a Bucky tilt moment like this one that Sabrosa had the other day.
Yeah.
Obscuring vision.
I was left.
Oh, I hate this game.
30.
Somehow the shotgun tilts me more than Reyna, which at this point is really saying something. And the good news about all of this is that Riot finally nerfed it. On Tuesday, March 30th, Riot Games announced patch 2.06 for Valorant, which was set to knock the Bucky off of its half-buy mantle, as well as give some much-needed buffs to two of the game's most underrepresented agents. There's a lot in here, so let's first go over what they did to the Bucky. Quote, "We want to focus the Bucky more on its actual primary firing mode, left click, and make that the strength you try to optimize when choosing a Bucky versus its alternate firing mode, right click. The right click should be more of a tool you use when you can't get into that effective left click range, or you just need some reliable chip damage. The spreads are reduced on both to increase reliability and smooth the damage curve. The alt fire's significant reduction in pellet count is a trade-off to being able to extend the range as much as it does for a shotgun." End quote. Basically, they want the Bucky to function more like a shotgun. So you're still going to be able to get those left-click short-range kills as intended, but it looks like the days of the 14-meter Bucky one-tap are over, which is a relief to ranked players everywhere, including Hiko.
I think that the Bucky was broken for too long. I think the right click was too good for too long, and I think this is a good change. Let me make that clear. I think this was good, and I think it was needed. And I think people who bought the Bucky a lot are now going to either buy the shorty, or they're going to like exclusively buy the judge. And I think on rounds that they were going to buy a Bucky, they're going to instead buy either a shorty, like I said, or they'll buy a sheriff, or they'll buy a ghost. I don't think people will really buy the Bucky anymore.
That said, he did make sure to get the broken Bucky kills out of his system before the patch went live.
Is that your mom? Oh, but not for long.
One enemy remaining.
I got mine. That's all I know.
Now, bear with me for a sec, Valorant and CSGO diehards, as I speak to the uninitiated for a moment. Because I think a lot of people are probably asking themselves the same questions when it comes to all of these pro players complaining about shotguns. Why is the Bucky being good such a big deal? Shouldn't other guns, not just the rifles, be usable? And the answer is, well, yes, and also no. The thing is, I think it's fine if Riot wants a larger variety of guns to be usable than something like Counter-Strike. where basically the AK-47, the AWP, and the M4 reign supreme. But the reality is, these games, tactical shooters, are about rifles at their core. And people love to watch these games because those rifles are so hard to play with and master. And what's not hard to master is stuffing your barrel down somebody's face in ropes on Split, or running and spraying people with a stinger, which Riot already had to fix not too long ago, which set a precedent for this change. Valorant has a run and gun problem. Seriously, if I get running sprayed by the Frenzy or the Stinger one more time, I'm gonna break my keyboard. So while I do think it's cute that in this game, sometimes it is right to buy a Judge or an Ares or an Odin over a Phantom, this Bucky shit had to end. And I'm personally glad it's gone. Now, while the primary celebration surrounding this patch was the Bucky getting the proverbial axe, Riot also made some changes to the game's two worst agents, Yoru and Viper. Let's start with the Toxin Queen herself. My early perspective is that this buff is massive. There is certainly a cult of people in the Valorant world that love Viper, but so far in the game's short history, she's been, well, pretty underwhelming competitively. But it looks like that could be about to change. Here's what Riot said about the changes they made. Quote, "When compared to other controllers, we want Viper to make big, committed decisions that truly alter the map and how both sides plan around her influence. She should claim ground with force and dare opponents to challenge her. The updates to Toxin should also project more threat on enemies who consider pushing her smoke and will hopefully add a significant bite to her marquee toxic screen. Paired with a couple other buffs and some new tools for learning and practicing lineups, we're excited to see if Viper can deliver on the deadly impact she promises while solidifying her spot on our roster." End quote. The biggest change they made to Viper was to her decay, the amount of life you lose when you walk into one of her toxins. You will now decay 50 life the second you walk into Toxic Screen, Poison Cloud, or her ult. 50! That's a lot of life. That's it, boys. We don't push Viper smokes anymore.
I think the insta 50 decay is big, and maybe she'll start to be picked a lot more. I mean, some teams are already experimenting with her.
On a more serious note, it does seem just that. Riot has changed it so, for all intents and purposes, you have to have a very good reason to walk through a Viper smoke, which isn't true about any other agent in the game. So I'm down for these changes. Riot also got the scalpel out and did some surgery on the game's newest agent, Yoru. Now, since his release, Yoru has been mostly confusing. He's a duelist, but his flash was clunky and takes forever to activate. His TP is so loud, and the whole thing was just kind of a mess, and it led to basically nobody playing him. So, Riot has made some significant but small changes. Quote, "Yoru carries a fantasy that you've been excited to see through, but we believe a few restrictions have made it harder to access. Although Yoru is a unique duelist on the roster, both in pace and in playstyle, we think he should still be a strong contender for good compositions and want to ensure the value he offers to his team is more consistent throughout a match." End quote. His flash now happens faster and lasts longer, and his teleport ability no longer re-ups on kills, it just comes back after 35 seconds, similar to Sova's arrow or Omen's smokes. And you're also going to be able to use that teleport ability while you're in your ultimate, which makes Yoru kind of a unique agent, right? Because he's a duelist, but you kind of want him to hang around long enough to re-up on his teleport ability, which is exactly what Hiko said.
I don't know if he's like a duelist anymore, right? Like, they're buffing his utility. I feel like now he has a lot of utility, and as a duelist, I feel like almost you don't want your Yoru to die anymore because he gets his gate crash and because it's like a 35-second interval synergy.
Hopefully buffing Yoru in conjunction with the similarities between his teleport and Jet's dash means that one day we might see some pro compositions using Yoru as an operator as well, because we need that bad. Now that we're done with the agents, there's actually one more major change coming in this patch that I haven't mentioned yet. HRTF audio, which is an insane acronym, but basically the sound's getting better. Basically, the cliff notes of it is you can now hit escape, go to your audio settings, and enable HRTF audio, which is going to improve the spatial quality of your audio. It's going to be a little bit more of a 360-degree experience. You can hear people left, right, in front, and behind you a little better. So when there's a lurking jet ratting near the tube on Icebox, now you can hear her and kill her instead of getting shot in the back of the head. Riot tweeted out an example of the change on Tuesday. Audio is, of course, a massive deal in games like Counter-Strike, Valorant, and Rainbow Six. And in my opinion, this might be the change from this patch that we remember the most in the long run. Early reports seem to say that the sound is markedly better, and the Bucky does in fact suck. And those are both dubs, if you ask me.
Dude, the sound is actually so good. I can actually hear. You can hear the difference in the stream. Dude, it's actually good. Do we buy the Buckster? Oh my god, look. Look at this. There's literally only 5 pellets. There's literally 5 pellets.
I mean, I basically think a good way for you to learn how to play Valorant is for you to just, like, unplug your keyboard for the first 15 seconds of a round while everybody else is, like, waiting for their utility, like, figuring out where they are, Sova darting, setting up, like, Killjoy shit. Because if they don't, you're just, like, dead in heaven. And everyone's, like, hasn't even left spawn yet.